Black Lives Matter in news. I can't breathe. You can see here the image of George Floyd recently in US. He has been brutally killed by the police action. So this is the matter in news now currently against the racial discrimination that we are going to see now. Black Lives Matter. The brutal killing of George Floyd, allegedly by a police officer, has not only led to a nationwide protest in the United States, but it also had a spillover effect in other cities of the world. The action of the police against the victim seems to be devoid of the procedural reasons that shapes and regulates the criminal justice system, and it can be designated as excess in reason and hence thoughtless. There is no moral reason and against the police action, and hence it is thoughtless. It seems to be go beyond the ethical, and it defines and harnessing power of human emotions, because it is completely based on an aggression, human aggression. It's a complete action of a human emotion that an arresting impact on racial outrage. It is in the sense that the police action is also a heartless. The police action suggests that reason as well as an emotion seems to have lost control over the functioning of police. The police action seems to be lacking in procedural reason for the following grounds. There is no reasonable grounds or procedural grounds to be followed under the criminal justice system. Firstly, the images of the incident in the media show that such an action was triggered either from an aggressive or a defensive resistance by the victim. Second, one could not hear Floyd casting derogatory or disrespectful comments on resistance by victim. Second, one could not bear Floyd casting derogatory or disrespectful comments on the police officer. In fact, he was making a desperate plea that he can't breathe. Third, police action seems to have resulted from the over-criminalization of non-violent offences, such as alleged use of fake currencies by the victim. However, the police action really in proportion to the provisions and procedures laid down for that criminal action, that is the fake currencies that which the Floyd was dealt with and was caught with, because there is no manual in the criminal justice system against the procedures, because the police action leading to the instant death of Floyd necessarily throttles the due process of the law, which is very imminent in the criminal justice system. The due process of law is the basic and the core that which results in the justice to every victim of injustice. So, in the above context of reasoning, the absence of adequate procedural reasons for the police did not treat an ordinary offense like fake currencies with an ordinary means of law enforcement, but on the contrary, it used an extraordinary brutal power of the police officer that an autopsy report suggests that it suffocated the victim to death. It is ironic to see that some of the police personnel on their knees pleading the protesters for peace and perhaps to express their collective guilt. The police action demonstrated that those who are responsible for such gruesome killing and heartless on two counts. First, the police officers in question did not allow moral reason to interfere with the brutal attack. That is, there is no moral reason, or their helplessness was the first reason. Such reasons would force the cops to refrain from taking a hasty action and would make some concessions to the harshness before resorting to the action. If such a decision with moral grounds is taken, such hasty actions may be avoided in such a fatal consequences. And the team of cops, particularly the main accused, could have seen in the victim's alleged attempt of using the fake currencies an element of compulsion that resulted from desperation caused by unemployment and aggravated helplessness of many like Floyd. Moreover, extraordinary circumstances when the whole of humanity is in the midst of death and struggling to save and perhaps celebrate life, the police are expected to consider that black lives should also matter. In the US context, it has been observed by scholars that relations between African Americans and the police have been congenial, that is very friendly relations, but in the current stage, the tragic incident, the police involved did not seem to be the mood to listen to the sincere plea made by the white woman beside that Floyd and an altruistic hope to protect the Floyd from the excessive police action. In fact, cop did not look happy at such an intervention that would have saved the life had it been taken seriously. This compels us to raise two pertinent questions on this action of police. One is the transcendental nature, that is, the world consists of a rich intellectual tradition of philosophy of justice, multiculturalism, egalitarianism, but this not allow, but this such an important futures didn't stop the police to act in racial profiling. It is against the kind of life mired with a series of injustices that the current protests have an unparalleled moral significance. While the other question is an emotive in nature, the protester seems to assign a much higher normative value to the universal cause of justice that transcends much beyond the individual good and merges with the general good. These protests thus another have an important layer of moral consciousness to stand on the side of justice. That is, the protests which are now are going on, it is evident that it is a social consciousness that is prevailing in the society, because social consciousness represents an outcry against the injustice. Irrespective of the social background, the moral consciousness to stand out in the side of justice and a universal good. The justice should be universal good to the people, irrespective of social background or color or creed. The protests appear to be equally significant, particularly in the current COVID-19 crisis, and possess a real danger to human life. And the moral consciousness currently we are seeing about in the public represents a cry for justice. Thank you.